Hi everyone, welcome to another interesting live from Gravitas AI. My name is Neha and I'll be the host for today, discussing a very interesting topic empowering generational AI and fostering digital inclusion in education. So, we are going to start with a panel discussion and two very interesting people part of this panel. I will start with introducing our panelists for today. Miss Kim, welcome to the panel discussion. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Lovely to be here.
Likewise, having you here for this panel discussion really adds on to what we're trying to offer and discuss through various topics in AI, and giving you a bit of giving a bit of introduction about you. So Kim is the CEO and Chief Ambassador of Simple Ecosystem. She is also the CEO for EduStore Africa, Destination Imagination in Africa, uh, Billion Child Foundation, Pony Focus Group of companies. So the list goes on and on for Ms. Kim. And we're so, so, so happy to host you today for this particular live. Thank you so much for being a part of it.
Most welcome.
And then our very own Mr. Aarsh Srivastava, founder and a very integral part of Gravitas AI. So, Arsh, welcome to this live. And we will be starting with the keynote for this particular live now. And let's start with understanding that how can generative AI be positioned as a catalyst for promoting digital literacy and inclusion in today's society? So, Ms. Kim, what's your take on this particular question?
Thank you. Thank you. And this is so timely. You just chose the right time because I think we've all seen what is happening, like the disruption, even the latest, the past 2 days. We're just wondering, and where are we and what are we supposed to do? But here where the question comes, as we see it, disruptive AI is taking shape and disrupting the entire fabric of the society, the community, and it's touching on literally every sector from agriculture to health to mining to it doesn't matter what you're doing, construction industry. So this is where we sit back, especially us in the education space, and we're looking at the foundation
Correct.
promotion of digital literacy. It is so critical. And this gets back to how are we positioning ourselves to make sure that we can leverage on this disruption of AI. So there are quite a number of options we have. And of course, I always go back to training the educators so that they can leverage on the use of those tools and the best use cases for them. But as somebody who works with children every day, we run an innovation center where we have children coming and we work with schools. So this is
Right.
something we started like 7 years ago. But since this whole discussion of AI, we've also gone a notch higher. We speak to educators, we speak to children and show them. There are so many different use cases. I think currently with GPT 4.0, enabling students to be able to learn with tutors, that literally you have a tutor in front of you, that
Hmm.
you're doing a back and forth,
Hmm.
detailed research, which wasn't there. This is a game changer. This is
Correct.
quite exciting. So it's quite transformational. There's a lot we can leverage on. We need to ensure as well. I always campaign on equity, so we don't have a lot of the marginalized communities that are being left behind. And how can we ensure that there's infrastructure that enables them to position themselves and get included within this space. Yeah. So I think for me, my big take is the fact that right now we have teachers that are in overcrowded classroom. We have situations in parts of Africa where one teacher stands in front of 100 students. I don't know how that makes sense. I don't know if there's any learning that goes on there. So now we've been disrupting in that space where we introduce them to just put the projector in front of the children, use these AI tools, and get the learning to continue. So this takes a little bit of a burden for the teacher. And then, of course, lesson planning. A lot of lesson planning using AI tools. We create curriculums, we create courses, we create programs. So you find what used to take us like 10 hours can now take us 20 minutes and you get into class.
Correct, correct. And that's so innovative, solving a problem of having, more populated classrooms. It becomes very difficult to deliver information and pass
Yeah,
on the curriculum in a way that, every student is a part of it. So, that's such an innovative idea.
absolutely.
As Ms. Kim has rightly mentioned, this is such a humongous challenge that is being faced. So, what is your take when it comes to how AI or generative AI can probably add to facilitating these educators and passing on the right lessons in the right time frame, which saves their effort, which saves their not only the time but also kind of increases the efficiency in which the material is delivered to the student and their understanding moving ahead. So, what's your take on
Yeah, so
I'm
these
super
tools are
excited.
really great. Yes, these tools are really great, and there are multiple open source platforms are also available which can be leveraged without consuming cost if you are trying to do things on lesser scale. These tools are useful, but we have to also work with a word of caution, because the kind of change we are experiencing in terms of education and how it will be delivered plus how it will be received, because both parties, whether it's teachers or the educators or the students, both will be using these tools to understand and leverage the technology to utilize it for saving their time. But at the same time we have to be very careful about how it is being transitioned. So the transitioning effort is to be is to be driven very carefully, because the kind of experience which we are providing through these kind of tools might have an impact, or might disrupt a bit of the equilibrium between the teachers and the students also. So sometimes if a particular say for example students are using started using it a lot for their purposes of essays or writing up things in for classes, etc., and that is something which is going to the educator to evaluate. So for them to understand that, okay, this is something which is a machine generated content, and how we should be utilizing it in a way that we can get back to the students so that their holistic development of thinking is still happening while they are using the AI tools to help themselves. So with each and every advent of technology, as a society, we move forward, and we push down certain things which we are doing, which we're consuming a lot of effort. But we also have to think how we can optimize that and also use it in a way that it's beneficial for us. So
correct?
definitely it's a very great tool, and there will be great implications and utilizations of this. But we have to always work with a side lens where we are also mitigating the risks which are coming around it.
Right, right. Arsh, thank you for that. Lovely dig in to how we can add on to solving the problem that Ms. Kim just mentioned. So, getting a view on that. However, passing the next question on to Ms. Kim, uh, how do you think the admissions team or the educators can have more support in terms of innovation that can be provided or tech-driven platforms that can be provided to them to manage this diverse, you know, pool of students that we have coming from different geographies, coming from different social starters, coming from different walks of life. So, there are sentiments involved, there are, say languages involved that you need to communicate in. There are, there are n number of different challenges that, even a counselor has to face before getting the student enrolled. So, how do you
Yeah.
think tech can actually uh, help and walk you walk the student through that journey in a very seamless way where it doesn't feel like a task, and even accessing education becomes very fun. So is there a way around it, and if so, then how do you do that thing?
Yes, a very good question. And this actually super excites me because we here in within the continent, we have about 20,000 different languages. So, and we also, that is just within the continent, within Africa. And to think about, we work a lot with, we get our children to do exchange cultural programs, which sometimes can be a nightmare where you're thinking, okay, and how do we get students from that are speaking Gujarat communicate with children that are speaking Mandarin and children that are speaking Zulu or Kiswahili any or French, any of our local languages? But guess
Right.
what? With AI tools now that is possible. So I would go for that has actually been super exciting for me, where now it's much easier for us to do some of the competitions we do. We do a lot of hackathons, and this can be a challenge where, of course, children have their natural way of just getting along and getting to be friends with each other. But even for us, we have judges that are monitoring what was the end result of this hackathon and all these cultural perspectives. This has been a great enabler. When we talk about providing instant assistance, that has been super awesome. Where you have 24/7 response from AI. There's no human that can do that. So this gives students guidance on some application processes. Then I'll also point on the personalization and recommendation. AI is able to analyze each student's profile and suggest suitable programs and courses. So the tailor-made communication that is based on per student's interest and qualifications. We're currently looking at as we get into 21st century skills, we want as much as possible to ensure that the current generation can be able to get into courses that they are gifted or talented in. So, how do you do that analysis? Well, at least we still have people going to do medicine for 10 years and they put down the tools to go and do chicken farming. I'm not sure if that's happening in part of the world, but it's happening a lot in Africa.
It
So,
is. Yes.
using the AI tools and analyzing what is this that I'm so gifted with? I would mention my last one, which is sending timely reminders. That has actually made us beat deadlines. And when it comes to document submissions, reminding students of upcoming events, interviews, or anything that's happening, we have lots of AI tools that we use. And we also able to improve accessibility, especially for international students. We can access literally, as you saw it with COVID, it was quite disruptive where a lot of our students could not go back abroad. We have a lot of our children in Africa that school in the US or in Canada. But currently, with this, just like how we are interacting with these tools, now I'm sure you've seen as it advances, it's breaking the barriers and breaking the walls. You can literally do, you can get your PhD right from your laptop.
Correct.
That's a wonderful thought, Kim, and that will be so convenient to get to that level. And I'm sure, like what you said, will get to like reality at some point of time. So, like, it's very important that the educators are also providing the right kind of information and also the exposure to the students so that they also understand the how to utilize these innovative tech driven products which are coming up in the market. And also, while I'm talking about the platforms which are in the market, we also need to think a bit about different stakeholders who are in the in the user journey. So for example,
Yeah.
students, the educators, people who are outside, a bit outside, but still are stakeholders like the parents, etc. So how we knit down a user journey which is beneficial for each and every stakeholder in the whole ecosystem of education, and is covering all aspects with amalgamation of AI-driven tech with LLMs, conversational AI, but also including the process automation, the applications, and understanding the analytics insights, plus trying to
Mhm.
use data science concepts. So with amalgamation of each of these, how we define the user journeys for each and every stakeholder, so that there's a connected journey and everyone is getting benefited seamlessly through that. So that is something which is very important, and we are definitely on that path as the momentum is gaining on the AI front, and new technologies, new innovations are happening every day, like every month. So with the advent of ChatGPT was a really game changer. The LLM models were really game changer. I'll tell you an
Yeah.
experience previously, like working on the annotation of documents. So 5 years
Yes.
before, we were working on annotation of documents project. It was about 1,000 page documents. Thousand
Mhm.
about 1,000 documents were there, and we had to
Yeah.
annotate each document manually to train the algorithms to work on it. But now it's become very easy. You drop the documents and you get the summaries out there. So the way the tech is evolving, and it will start evolving in a more exponential way from here on. So definitely we have to leverage that, but we also have to think about the users who are in the ecosystem, the stakeholders, who are the main people, because technology will always be an enabler, and
Yes.
ultimately, the user has to be at the heart of the solution.
Hmm.
Right. So, I think we all agree on this that technology from here on is going to be something that we still are unaware of, that what we will be expecting, what we'll get in the next 5 to 10 years. That
Yeah.
also brings me to the next part of our conversation, which is the panel discussion. And in this panel discussion, like you mentioned, we have children coming from all walks of life, uh, and they need an engagement tool or platform that will be easy for them to access, education systems. But when it comes to having these conversations, we would need a platform or a tool that can converse in a way. It could be a virtual assistant or it could be a chatbot,
Yeah.
or a combination of both. Then
Mm.
how are we looking at supporting these prospective students to go through these admission process journeys and at the same time be able to make decisions on what courses or admission channels should they choose, or what programs should they analyze themselves on? So, what's your take on that?
On the tools that the students can use.
Yes. So, do you think that there is, kind of an opening for having a virtual assistant in place that can, not only engage the student from the beginning itself, but also help with the admission process, help them make a decision about the course that they would want to go for, and then further analyze that what are their, say, opportunities inclined to that particular course. So, this whole journey of the student, how do we think that a virtual assistant or a chatbot can be incorporated in this journey? And then further, it will help the student in making that decision.
Yes, I love that question, and it's actually something. It's a transition currently we're going through with
Okay.
using virtual assistant with the students, and especially where when we're doing hackathons and we are faced with the challenge of you. This actually, we did a lot of this even before the disruptive AI, and this came with the whole thing of
I think we have lost the
COVID. Their
connection.
students, yeah, COVID, with the COVID disruption, kids were working in isolation, and of course, by then we're just using other basic tools. But right now, with where we are at with AI and virtual reality, we're getting students able to communicate from different parts. They could be stuck somewhere in the village. Of course, we still have sometimes we still have accessibility issues. We still have infrastructure to sort out. Sometimes we don't have internet working as well as we would want it to.
Right.
But with
Right.
the advancement of AI, yes, we're able to use, especially right now. I think yesterday we were doing our testing with GPT-4 and starting to see how the tutoring happen. How can we get kids who are miles away communicate with the children that are here? And it has to be it's change management. And especially, we don't struggle as much with students because students are easy and they want to understand and pick and get on it very fast. It's mostly with the educators that are obviously we go through the baby steps to make them integrate and get to appreciate this. But remember, when we see it's anytime we are given a tool that makes our life easy, then of course we want to jump on it and get to use that tool. So currently,
Correct.
we're doing a lot of VR, virtual reality. We are ensuring that we integrate with tools that make it easy for us to translate languages. And you put 1,000 children on the platform, and we're using some tools like Discord to make communication easier for them.
Hmm. Hmm. Right.
Yeah.
So I think this again is also related to how well we need to look at educating the educators about tech, and I think
Yeah.
that's very very essential. That's where we began our conversation from. So Ash, what do you think could be a futuristic element that would be added to this process that Ms. Kim has just mentioned? So do you see a near future of education wherein AI driven chatbots or virtual assistants are enabling them to provide these education platforms or curriculums in a very seamless
Yes, definitely. There's a large role to be played, and to be played at each and every level. I'm a big fan of like stakeholders and use cases and personas. So coming back to the same point, like from the start of the process, wherein the admission related information is queried, and a lot of inquiries are passed from the students or prospective students to the colleges, where they try to get the information, and sometimes they're not able to get it because of busy lines or like a lot of like traffic in the email. So from there on, automating it through applications wherein through some process automations, we can get the desired results for the students, including registrations, their payments. So instead of getting through like web application or maybe a person to do those things, these things can be totally automated, and bots can drive these things, because these are totally then will become a BAU activity, which can be handled by bots. We have got now in these days multilingual capabilities in AI, so that can be utilized further to like augment the experience of artificial intelligence powered AI assistants, wherein they can be multilingual and people can talk in their own language. Even there's a different type of language sometimes which is developed locally, which is typically used in WhatsApps to chat about. So sooner than later, with the advent of LLM, like with the maturity of LLM models and how we are going ahead with this, we'll be able to get into that type of conversations through artificial intelligence as well, which will be catering to the hybrid language which we develop over WhatsApp, maybe typing in English and representing it in local language. So even that kind of conversations can be done, and this can be spread across the entire ecosystem, where we can have an omni-channel AI assistant representing the organization to talk with the students or the parents, maybe on websites, WhatsApps, messengers, Instagrams, emails, etc. as well can be replied through the bots, which can be done very efficiently. So with all of this, like a lot of data is generated, and that data can be like accumulated to drive some process applications, to manage the processes which are inside the organization. And also one thing which is very important is that the data which is getting collected in the chatbots is actually a live user research, wherein we typically organizations spend millions to understand more about the end users by surveying them, by doing focus group discussions, or having telephone interviews with them. But here the chatbots are interacting with this prospects, and asking them the right kind of questions, and they're responding with their needs. So all the needs are getting captured in the chatbot itself, which is specially like passed over by them over emails or telephone, which is very difficult to capture by the humans, and all the information gets lost. So typically, you can have like millions of records of data coming into this through this, which can be analyzed to understand the user behavior, their needs, what time they are most active, or what they are like, how they're behaving in a particular season, or if it's like a busy season, what kind of traffic is there. So even that has an impact on the supply chain, which is downstream, to manage the level of traffic which is coming into the education institute. So yeah, there are multiple things which can be done in this space, and yeah, that's my take on that.
Thank you, Ash. That was a very elaborative understanding of how we can support students in different processes along with the educators. Uh, Also asking how can we harness AI powered tools to facilitate cross cultural communication and collaboration among students. So I think we already discussed a bit of this. Like Ms. Kim mentioned, there are collaborative programs, exchange programs where students from different geographies interact with each other. There are hackathons that they participate in, etc. So is there anything else apart from what we have discussed in terms of specific, culture communication that we're trying to enhance between the two students, or give them awareness about different cultures, etc. So, is there a possibility to incorporate AI in this?
Yes, I think what I'd love to add on top of what we've discussed is I'm loving all these tools because now I think there's so many several tools like Creed AI where
Hmm.
you find there's so many recording tools. So and
Hmm.
these recording tools also they translate. So you
Correct.
might find for a particular reason the student has missed a class.
Hmm.
But actually, later on, the student can access that class just
Hmm.
because one of the other students just left their AI tool. It could be Read AI. It can be any of so many tools. I think every other day somebody's coming up with a tool. So you just left it on within your smartphone, and it's recorded, and the student can catch up on that. And it doesn't matter if you want to translate it into any other language.
Correct.
So
Correct.
that to me, and yeah, it's really making a huge difference. Where in cases where they used to be, especially right now, we're looking at climate change, and it's affecting a lot of students. Where in some parts of Africa, students didn't open school. Schools were opened a week ago. Some students need to open school because of floods in their countries, but
Correct.
learning still continues. Yeah, and when you have those recorded, it could even be Loom that's recording the video or any tool, so
Hmm.
that bridges the gap, the communication, and keeping the students up to speed, them being able to carry on accessing that materials. And then, of course, the AI tools, you can repeat it 1,001 times. It's not like telling the teacher repeat. You can play it again and again.
Correct. Correct.
Makes a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
totally agree with Kim on that one. So, taking a leaf out of what she said, that this has got a lot of possibilities, and the translation services which are coming up with all the platforms is really helpful as well. And this is a game changer because a lot of collaborative and cultural communication can be managed through this. Adding a few things on top of it from a risk mitigation perspective, and also to make it more efficient when we are discussing with discussing communities. So there's a lot of change in behaviors and patterns which happens with a few hundred or few thousand miles. So we have to understand that the cognitive abilities of the solutions which we are developing is typically coming from a few biases which we as a team or some teams are trying to develop it. So the teams have to enrich the solution with a lot of user research, and that is where again the persona driven journey comes into picture. We have to understand the type of persona the tool is going to cater, and also do a massive and extensive user research with a lot of feedback sessions, focus group discussions, to understand from the user about what type of information they need or they want to get, rather than we coming up from solutions from our end as technology houses. Also, we need to understand carefully what is not to be trained and what is to be managed in a way that it's still ethical, and is able to shun off the things which are not very decent. So we have to also manage the red flags. So apart from what we are doing is managing the uh, cognitive translation services through AI. We have to also think about how we can also manage the risks coming alongside it. Yep.
right. Right. So, I think we've had a very interesting panel discussion. So many different aspects of education, along with how we can support the students, educators, how we can have cultural elevation through AI. And with that, let me come to the last segment of the live session, where we'll be discussing some facts and some we'll be discussing some interesting uh, depths of AI. And I would like to pass this question to Arsh. How do you envision generative AI technologies in the evolving decades to come? and how they will further drive the initiatives aimed on fostering digital inclusion in education. So, how do you envision the participation of AI in
Hmm.
this journey?
It will be massive and it will be used extensively. That is something which is sure. The way it is coming up and evolving is really great. We have been able to use now the generative AI tools for generating content, managing content, summarizing content, making videos, a lot of things. But alongside that, also that some bad things are coming up, yeah, which are deepfakes and other things. So we have to be very careful about that. I think it's very much required in today's world as we have started progressing as a society or globally to start using artificial intelligence and generative AI concepts for betterment of our practices, management of our reducing the effort we're putting into things, and also management of optimization of costs, etc. So it's very important that that the regulations, which will be key to drive this journey forward, are coming sooner than later. I'm aware that these have been framed at various government levels in different countries, but the need of this is very much evident now, considering the kind of uh, few bad things which are happening and coming up, surfacing as well. So we have to be like, there's a huge potential. We are just at the starting point of it because the tools are started to generate things and we have started to do generic stuff from this. And some specific tools are there to create something specific, but there's a lot of opportunity to go to personalized levels, connecting it with like IoTs and other things. So there's a lot of immense possibility in all the sectors.
Right,
There's no sector which will be untouched by artificial intelligence and generative AI. But
right,
we have to be very carefully and most importantly, uh, this is the right time now to start soon with at least a MVP regulation is coming into picture, and it can keep rolling because this technology will keep evolving, and we can't
right.
predict everything we can gain from this particular technology. So we have to be very carefully keep drafting it as an MVP regulatory framework, which has to govern this whole practices.
Right. So I think we've discussed a lot of interesting and intriguing aspects of AI and how it's going to help and benefit us. But then Arsh has really mentioned the pain area at this point in time, where we need to be very vigilant about how these platforms are being used, how students who are below a certain age are given access to information, how much information at what time, how much control do parents and educators have on these platforms while the students are accessing it, and is there any data related uh, steps that we need to take, or there should be compliances, like of course GDPR is in place, but then should there be any more compliances on top of that to protect what kind of information is actually accessible to students, or everybody, depending on the age group or the industry that they're in. So, I think we have discussed and touched all the aspects of AI in education. Ms. Kim, we definitely loved having you for this discussion. It was very, very interesting to understand your views, aspect, the experience that you bring, the heavy experience that you bring in education. That is really intriguing, and I think these questions are not enough to dig into the conversations that we would love to have around the topic. But it's been an amazing discussion, an amazing panel. Arsh, so thank you to you as well, and thank you for being a part of this panel discussion. It's been very, very interesting. Kim, anything that you'd like to add?
I think, yes, I would love to. I always want to close this discussion with the emphasis on us enhancing cybersecurity. Because,
Correct.
of course, yes, we're exposing our children to this, and hackers are busy also. So, ethics, safeguarding them. And these kids also, they're developing these tools. So this is
Absolutely.
something that I always emphasize as we train our children, we expose them to all this amazing technology, innovation, and stuff like that. Let's do it ethically. Let's remember, we first humans. These are tools. And it's so much to do with how we can use the tool. So, yes, the journey to digital inclusion and AI empowerment starts with you and I. We are educators, and this is something we emphasize as we work with policymakers. All of us, we have a role to play in shaping the future. So let's
Correct.
commit to fostering, as we foster that, let's foster creativity and ensure that every learner gets these tools and opportunities to thrive in the digital age. This has been awesome, and we need to keep the conversation going. Thank you.
Definitely. We would love to have you on board for another panel discussion very soon and with another interesting topic where probably we could dive into depths of, say certain aspects of, pain areas that are being catered to by educators in providing education in rural areas, in areas with difficult geographies, bad climatic conditions, etc. So we would definitely want to discuss those pain areas because we all sit in different geographies, we're sitting in different continents, and so much that we can read through news or understand through social media. But speaking to someone who comes from that geography and understanding their lived stories is something that really opens up a person to actual sense of life. So it would be really interesting to understand your stories and have you on board again. Thank you so much for being a part of the panel discussion. Thank you, Ash.
You're most welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Sam.